Okay, everybody, it's right at 4:30 and want to be respectful of everyone's time this afternoon, this late in the workday. We are so glad that you showed up today, that you're able to join us. This is questions and answers about tailored plans. We know that if you are a family member or you are working with families, that some of the information that's coming down to you has been confusing. It is confusing to us as well, and we are doing our very best to make it a little bit easier on you as a family or as you support families. So I'm Melinda Plew. I am with the Advocacy Division here at the ARC of North Carolina. I've got Holly Watkins from my team in the background that's helping with the slides today and has been a critical element in putting these out. With you on camera today are three people: John Nash, our Executive Director, Lisa Petit, our Deputy Director, and Liz Bolt, who's our Director of Quality Management and Compliance. And these are our three subject matter experts, for lack of a better word, for what we can understand about what's happening in our state. So this is how today is going to go. When I finish my housekeeping stuff, I'm going to turn it over to these three. They're going to do a very short walk through history about how we've gotten here, and where we think we're going, so that we can answer your questions in the most simple, plain language way that we possibly can. You all and others have been submitting questions online. We've been collecting those. We've been grouping them together into themes. And so what we have done is we have kind of selected what the most asked questions or themes are in this, and we're going to go through those, as well as, if time allows, answer some of the questions that have been submitted to us. In the meantime, you can use the Q&A within this webinar to drop questions about your family member or someone you support, or in general questions that might be confusing to the larger group. And if we have time, we will shift right into answering live questions in our 1 hour today. So I would ask, if you please don't use the chat. We have a couple of links that we're going to put into the chat, but if you will use the Q&A, it helps us keep track just a little bit better. So with that, I think that we are going to get started. I'm going to introduce John Nash, and he and Lisa and Liz are going to help walk us through this next hour. Thanks. John, you're muted.
Welcome, everyone. As Melinda said, we're going to try and walk you through what we know. As we've said in several of these, and one of the questions we got is, will this be recorded? And I believe, are we recording this one, Melinda?
We are, yes. And all of these are being posted on our YouTube channel.
So while we are being introduced as subject matter experts on this, we're as confused about some things as everyone. Some things we know better because we've just been dealing with it on a daily basis. So we'll share with you what we know. What we don't know, please ask questions, post them to us. We're trying to take all the questions we've got and find answers, and we're putting together a frequently asked question, or FAQ document, so that we can go back and circle back to these issues as they come up. And we're going to do just a very, very short history, not even really a history, just kind of what's brought us here. And really what this comes down to is that Medicaid many years ago was decided to go to what is called managed care, and that's where a lump payment for a large population of people is given to an agency or organization, and that big lump payment is to cover all the needs for everyone. This was decided probably 15 years ago or longer. This has been progressing over the last 15 years. Just in the last few years alone, we've gone from managed care for behavioral health, which is what most of us are dealing with here. And now they're going to add physical health to that bundle as well. And in the process, they're changing the mechanism on how that all is handled and how that's moved out. So when we talk about things today, why are we doing this? This isn't something the ARC of North Carolina has much connections to. we're in the process of being a care management agency, so we have a little bit more information about how this is supposed to work. But ultimately, this is a decision that was made by the state, and we're here to help facilitate questions and answers as an advocacy organization today and dealing with things as we go tomorrow and down the road. So Lisa, Liz, I don't know if either of you have anything you want to add to that.
I'll just add, we're going to do our best not to use any acronyms. As John said, use plain language to help you understand how this might affect you on the ground, you and your family when it happens. So your questions also help us learn more, and we welcome those questions.
Do we have, I know we had a couple of slides up just to kind of give you some sense of what it is. And in advance, we apologize because we live in it every day. And so we try very hard to, and are trying very hard to keep this in plain language and understandable content. But because we deal with this every single day, it is really hard not to slide into acronyms and terminology that we use on a daily basis. And it just is habit to come out. And so by all means, if you hear something you don't understand, please put it in the chat and we will, in the Q&A, we'll try and answer that for you. We will try and remind ourselves so we don't slide into jargon and hard to understand words. Again, we do this on a daily basis, and for what it's worth, I have a list that I keep running just to remind myself what words and what acronyms mean that we're dealing with. So it's not a simple thing to do, but we'll do our very, very best. So why don't we go ahead and begin? Melinda, are you going to ask the questions, or are we just going to go off the list that we've got?
I'm happy to do it, just for those that need it. Can you just explain what is a tailored plan and how do I know if I'm in one?
That's a good question. The tailored plan is the Medicaid adjustment. I don't know, it's not even the right word. The tailored plan is what we are going to administer all Medicaid dollars. So tailored plans is the mechanism to make that happen. It is specific to people with intellectual and developmental disabilities who meet the criteria. For instance, if you have been receiving Innovations waiver or you are on a wait list, you would definitely be in the tailored plan. It also serves people with severe and persistent mental illness. It deals with people with traumatic brain injury and substance use issues. But you got to check all the right boxes, and generally that's what you go through the onboarding process. If we're in this conversation today, there is a likelihood that if you're not in a tailored plan, you're in a part of the tailored plan that will help serve what your needs are, but it's a little more involved than that. Lisa, you want to add to that?
Yeah, let me just add an analogy. A tailored plan is kind of like an insurance company. And the tailored plan will be a portion of the LME-MCO, and they will manage all of your services together. For instance, if you're getting Innovations waiver services, they'll continue to manage those services kind of like they do now, but coupled with your health or medical services and pharmacy services. So it's a bigger picture, and the goal is integrated health and improvement of health and quality of life for people in the tailored plan. The tailored plan will start, like John said, with folks who are on the Innovations waiver and the waiting list for those waiver services. And over the years, we believe the tailored plan will include future groups, but not yet. For instance, folks on Cap C and Cap DA are not in the tailored plan right now, but they should be in the future. Foster care services are not in the tailored plan for startup, but they're likely to be in the future. So think of this as an insurance plan that's starting out for mostly the folks on the Innovations waiver and the waiting list. And each current LME-MCO will have this tailored plan piece added to their functions and their responsibilities. I guess that kind of takes us to the next question. What's an LME-MCO?
Mm-hmm.
And how is it different than a tailored plan?
Yeah, those letters stand for local management entity / managed care organization. And that's a mouthful, which is why they just use the letters. And those have been around for a long time. They include VIA, I'm trying to go west to east this time, VIA, Partners, Alliance, Sandhills, East Point Trillium. I think I hit them all. So there are 6 of them. And they'll keep doing what they're doing as an LME MCO. Plus, they'll add on this responsibility for tailored plan services. In the LME MCO piece, they will continue managing all of the other Medicaid services as they do today. And you might hear those referred to as Medicaid Direct because it's not in the tailored plan.
And to add to that, I mean, the companies that we're talking that Lisa listed, for all intents and purposes, it looks very similar to what you currently have, but it's changed how the services are being managed. It's a different mechanism, and it isn't even intended really to save the state money. It is intended to give the state more understanding and control month in, month out of where those dollars go. And so, it could be very inexpensive, but you have really high expense months and really low expense months. That's hard for the state budget to manage. So the original idea, and this again goes back many years, was if we do a managed care approach, where right now we have behavioral and habilitative health is managed. Going forward, it'll be everything, medical health, everything will be in a managed care approach. It's easier for the state and the state agencies to manage month in, month out how much money they're spending. So it's easier to budget, it's easier to control. Again, not our decision, not our idea, but that's the system that we have going forward. When you ask what is a care management agency, and we've heard this come up a couple times, care management agencies are not managed care organizations. We don't control the dollars. We don't, as a care management agency, they don't control the funding. What they do is work with the individual and with the family to help connect them with the services they want and they need. And I noticed there was a question that came up in the chat. Why has no one asked the parents or guardians of these individuals what is needed to meet, especially the physical health? And that's exactly what a care management agency is supposed to do, is to work with that individual and to recognize that rather than just getting you set up with a doctor or getting you set up with a day support or some other type of service, this whole idea is to work with the whole person and to not just work with the whole person and say, this is what you got to have. The intent is to address the needs of that person with that person as a part of the team. So the care management agency is really a facilitator. And while we don't usually use the terminology these days for a variety of reasons that are outside of our control, in the old days, we used to call these case managers. Case managers only dealt with habilitative and day health and behavioral health. Going forward, rather than just being a case manager of behavioral and habilitative supports and long-term services, that care manager will actually deal with everything and helping to coordinate and connect the person with the services they need. And so this will very much be person-centered. The individual and the families will be very much involved in this conversation. This isn't just us dictating to somebody else. This is how it goes. So the care management agency is an agency that will be facilitating those services and connecting the dots and getting somebody connected with what they need.
Okay, Lisa, Liz, do either of you want to kind of weigh in also on a definition of care management agency?
Yeah, I'll add a little bit to what John was describing. And we are going to be a care management agency, and many other community-based providers like the ARC will be or are on the road to becoming a care management agency. Care management will also be available through some of the larger doctors' offices or practices, and those are called advanced medical homes. There are only a few in the state who are doing that, so that's probably not going to be available to a lot of people. But if one is near you and you have a lot of medical issues, you might want your care management to be done there. And then most of the care management will be done by the tailored plans themselves in the beginning. because there are a lot of people who are suddenly going to be eligible for care management, and not enough care management agencies to go around. Now, over the next 4 years, the intent is for the LME MCOs or the tailored plans, and we'll probably use those terms interchangeably, to contract out the majority of that care management to community-based providers like the ARC or others. By the end of the first year, they're supposed to have contracted out 30% of that care management, and then it goes up to 40, 60, and 80% in the following years. So they call this the glide path, where they're really trying to grow care management that is going to be community-based, on the ground, close to the people receiving services, because that's where we can potentially get to know people the best and do the most good. The intent of care management, again, is to do whole person integrated care, everything working together, your community-based provider working alongside your doctor or specialist, and in ways that make everything work better for you, improve your health and quality of life. And it's not going to happen with the flip of a switch on December 1st. This is something the state has to grow into. There's a lot of training being done right now all over the place, in CMAs, in tailored plans, in physicians groups, in hospitals, everywhere. Lots of folks are training, getting ready to roll this out. And it's going to be an evolutionary process, like most new things, to get to the goal that we want to achieve with care management. We think that we can make care management work for folks with IDD. Managed care is not always the best type of system for folks with IDD, as most of you probably realize. But with care management in there, we think we can make it work better for folks. So it's not just about managing the dollars for their services, but really, how do you put everything together in a way that works best for a person? So you'd have one person looking at everything and how well it works together.
Great. So what if I don't like my tailored plan? We've seen that question a lot. Can I just pick another one?
No, you cannot. You cannot choose a tailored plan, because the tailored plan provides those services for the county, for where you live, or for where your Medicaid home is. So let's say your Medicaid home, your county of origin is Mecklenburg, but you're living in Asheville. Then Mecklenburg is served by Alliance, Asheville is served by VIA, and those two tailored plans will have to do a contract so that you get services where you live, but from the plan that governs your county. So that can get confusing. If you aren't living in your county of origin, it's okay, they can make it work. But you don't get to choose a tailored plan. In fact, if you are assigned a tailored plan based on where you're living right now. And if you move, then you'll change tailored plans to where you move to, so that they can manage your services.
One of the common things that we hear, and we've heard and will continue to hear, I'm sure, there is a difference between the tailored plan and the care management agency. The tailored plan is the funding agency via Trillium, all of those LME MCOs, if you were familiar with that term. These are the companies where you've been getting your innovations waiver services for many years. That is going to become the tailored plan. Each one of them will be a tailored plan going forward, as well as doing a number of other things. Set that aside. The facilitating agencies, the ones that will be helping you connect the dots with what you need, those are care management agencies. Those might be an advanced medical home, depending upon where they come from. These are both set up to do care management. The tailored plan will also offer care management, so you can get it one of three places. The idea is that the tailored plan offers the plan and the funding, And then the connection to those services would come through a care manager, and the care manager might be employed by a Taylor plan. It might be employed by a care management agency, or it might be employed by an advanced medical health home. But all of those three entities will do essentially the same thing. I saw one question in the chat that says that they're getting told that you got to sign up with the Taylor plan as their care manager because they'll get the best services, and care managing agencies won't have the kind of access or the ability to approve like they would be able to do. And that is not the case. As a matter of fact, central to this is your ability to make choices and to choose. And so if you're being told that, you need to let us know or let somebody know so that you can check into that, because at the end of the day, we can connect you with a doctor as quickly as they can connect you with a doctor. If there is a doctor to connect to, they can connect you with day services like we can connect you. So it's an even access to all of the service providers, because the providers are still the same group of people. Again, trying to keep this simple, the idea that you cannot use somebody other than Trillium as your care manager or Via or one of those others is simply not true. And eventually, most of those care managers that you would be working with will be from outside of any of those agencies. That's going to take about 5 years for that to occur, but the large percentage will be from outside organizations like the ARC and others that are doing this.
Okay.
Just add one more thing about tailored plan. We've heard a lot of questions about letters that people are getting, and sure enough, the state did send out a very confusing letter to many people, and you may have gotten a letter that says, hey, you are in Medicaid Direct currently, and on December 1st, you will be moving to a tailored plan. Medicaid Direct is the term for what's happening right now in the state. That's how we're managing Medicaid funded services. And on December 1st, people will be assigned to a tailored plan. They don't get to choose the tailored plan again. They don't get to change the tailored plan. They are assigned based on where they live. So that letter, it's got a lot of confusing stuff in it. They're typically long, too long. And we've gotten a lot of questions about those letters, but that's key to remember. Everyone is currently in Medicaid Direct, everybody, in IDD, mental health and substance use world. On December 1st, some of us will move to the tailored plan portion of the LME MCO. And a tailored plan does not equal a care management agency, although the tailored plan will also provide care management for a lot of people.
All right. Will I get to keep my doctors if I move to a tailored plan?
So you won't move to a tailored plan, you'll be assigned to a tailored plan if depending on your type of Medicaid. And whether or not your doctors are contracted with the tailored plan is a big question right now for a lot of people. And I can tell you the tailored plans are working really hard to get doctors contracted with them so that those doctors will be in their network. On the medical side, it's a completely open network. Any willing medical provider can be a part of each tailored plan. They just have to sign a contract. They could be contracted with a hospital system and come in that way. There's several avenues to contract with the tailored plan. All of the contracts are not in yet. So if you go searching for your doctor on the provider list, you may or may not see your doctor on that provider list for your tailored plan. All the contracts are not in yet. This happened, if you remember, about 1.5 years ago, the state launched the standard plans. This happened in standard plans too, where the doctors were the last to sign up, the last to get on board. If a doctor is not signed up on December 1st, they could sign up on December 2nd, on December 3rd, on December 15th, on January 1st. They can still contract with the tailored plan. It would be nice if they were all contracted now and we all knew for sure that all those doctors were going to be available. That's not the picture we have today. They are working hard to get doctors contracted. There will be some lag time on that. And we are advising people, the one thing you can probably do is call your doctor's office and ask to speak to whoever handles those contracts, an office manager or a contract manager, someone in that office, and ask, are you going to be contracting with my tailored plan? And see if they can give you some guidance there. And you have been asked, and if you've received a letter, to call your tailored plan prior to October 14th and choose your physician and your care management agency. And they may or may not be on the public list
Yet.
because that list is slow going right now. Yeah.
So there's
I've
seen 2 or 3 questions in the chat about how do you choose a care management agency, and unfortunately, it's not as simple as it should be. In order for you to choose a care management agency, they have to pass a series of reviews and certifications. There are several that have done that I'm aware of. The ARC is one of them. There are others out there. Once we have passed the final review, which we have done, you get a letter from the state, and we submit that to all 6 of the tailored plans, and then they have to turn around and contract with us, which they have also done. And once they have the contract in place with that care management agency, they're supposed to post that on their tailored plan list, that when you go to sign up, you should be able to choose from that. When this first came out, a number of people went out to look, and there wasn't anybody on the list, including the tailored plans, because they hadn't finished all of their final reviews. That's now happening, and I don't know, I haven't been out to all the websites yet. The intent is that it should be available by the time we hit the 14th of the month, so that those that are on there, although if you don't choose one, and the word is that you'll get assigned one, yes, you'll get assigned a care management agency randomly based on some algorithm that the state has put together. If that's not the care management agency that you want, and it's just a matter of timing for that agency to get its reviews done and listed, you can make the change. There is, matter of fact, that's a big thing right now, to make sure that if somebody says, you know what, I was assigned XYZ as my tailored care management agency, and I don't want to work with them, I want to work with these other folks, you can go in and make that change. And there is a mechanism that should be online, and I would tell you where it is right now, but we probably won't see that until we get a little bit closer to December, on the button you got to click to change your care management agency. But the words we have gotten, and this was the same problem they had with the standard plans last year, that if you want to go with a different care manager, that there is a no harm, no foul change process that you can go through to change the one that you want to work with. So that's, I know there's a lot of stress over that. I don't want to work with this one, I want to work with that one. The understanding we have, and from all indicators, you will have that ability to choose who you work with when you get to that point.
Okay. So just getting back to the doctor question, does anybody else need to weigh in on how do I know if my doctor is in my tailored plan before we move on?
I just would add that everything I'm hearing is that the doctor lists, you would think it would be simple. It's somebody that's already working with them, but when you go from an LME MCO to a tailored plan, even though it's the same agency, it's a different mechanism. It's like they bought a new car and you have to move all the stuff you had in the old car into the new car. And so part of that is the doctors need to sign up under the new plan. And until that happens, your doctor may not be listed. But as Lisa said, if they're not listed, it doesn't mean that they can't be listed. It doesn't mean that they've chosen not to. There are connections, and if you need to, we can get that word out. I think to make sure and help facilitate that, Lisa and Melinda, let's see if we can't provide in our FAQ the ability, the means to be able to connect your doctor with the tailored plans to get them signed up. I think that's because that's a common question, and we keep getting it. And I think a lot of doctors don't realize they need to go in and re-sign up with the tailored plan, because I'm already doing business with these guys. Why do I have to do it all over again? But unfortunately, that is the case.
Yeah, and if you are looking for either doctors or CMA care management agencies, do not go to the state Medicaid provider list. go to the LME-MCO or tailored plans list of providers and look there. It will be a much more current and regionalized list of what you're looking for. Beware, it's not very well populated yet. We still have almost a month to go. Well, I guess about 3 weeks to go. And we have encouraged people to, again, call your doctor's office or doctor's offices and ask the question. And unfortunately, we're all having to be a bit patient with those lists being populated right now.
Okay. If I'm receiving B3 services right now, what will change for me?
So the B3 funding source is going away November 30th, and we are transferring most, if not all, of those services to an I waiver that is currently in the works at the state level. The B3 is a Medicaid pot. The I is another different Medicaid pot with a few different rules. It's a more innovative pot of money. And the I waiver services will look somewhat like the B3 services. Some of them will also mimic some of the innovations waiver services. We don't know yet how many people will be able to receive those I waiver services, but our hope is that if someone was receiving B3 services, that those would be mapped over to the new I waiver services when they're in place. They should be in place by December 1st. Everything we're hearing is saying that they will be in place by December 1st. They just went out for public comment on Friday. We have 10 days to submit comment, and they will be submitted to CMS for approval. This is technically a state plan amendment, not a home and community-based support waiver amendment. So it's a little bit different timeline for those of you who think about those differences. It means it should be quicker. And also because it's in the state plan, for those people who are eligible and receive I waiver services, they will be an entitlement service, which means you'll forever be entitled to receive that service, kind of like the innovations waiver is. John, do you want to add anything on I waiver?
Yeah, just I've been in several meetings and webinars, and I'm trying to attend everything outside of these webinars as well, just to kind of make sure I'm hitting all the high points. And really, originally the I waiver was described as the innovations waiver light. I don't think that's the case, but it's probably as simple a description as there is. If you're on the registry of unmet needs or the wait list or the run or whatever anybody calls it, you certainly don't have access to the innovations waiver because there's no slot available until your time is up and you're given an option to accept the innovations waiver. In the meantime, there are some B3 services, which is, again, not everything you need, but something to keep you going. That's been used in the past. In the new system, the B3 services will no longer exist because under the Taylor plan authorization for Medicaid, B3 services aren't allowed. So in order to resolve that, the state's put together an I waiver. What I am being told is that everybody that is currently receiving B3 services should be eligible for the I waiver. Now, what we're told and what actually happens may be two different things. The intent is that everybody that's in the B3 service array would move over to the I waiver. How that works and how that happens, we're still waiting to hear ourselves, and that's something that, believe me, we will be paying really close attention to, including reviewing the I waiver application that just came out, and hopefully in the next few days we'll have a better sense of how that's supposed to work. But that is the intent. It is there to supplement what we don't have enough room for under the innovations waiver. Pretty much it.
Sorry, I was typing an answer. What is NC Medicaid Direct? Again, that's what everybody is in right now. And for the people who do not move into the tailored plan, you'll just continue in Medicaid Direct, the group that is the way that Medicaid services are managed right now. And that will be through the LME MCO. So if you currently get Medicaid services that are not innovations waiver services through, let's say, Alliance or VIA or Trillium, you'll continue to get those services in the same way. Can you choose to join Medicaid Direct? I think you can, but I'm not sure you'd want to, because you would lose the fuller care management that you'd be eligible for under the tailored plan. Where can you find out more about care management? We are trying to put some of that on our website. Some of that information is in some of our videos that are on our YouTube channel. We have developed a kind of an overview document about care management that we could make available publicly. Each of the tailored plans or LME MCOs should have information about care management on their website, and there is a state section of the DHHS website dedicated to tailored care management. I will find that and put that in the chat for you.
Awesome. That's great. Holly, is that the last slide on care management? Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to move over to the Q&A. You guys have asked some really great questions, and we're going to try to hit some of the live questions. And I don't know that we'll have time to get to the banked ones, but we're going to get to it all. So Jane had a lot of great questions. And the first one was, are all the MCOs even ready for this start date of December 1st?
That's a difficult question to answer. I'm not sure. I think that on December 1st, they will go live. If there is going to be a pause, we'll know in the next few days. This department has given a drop dead. There's a point of no return. That once you get started, the damage that we would face by not going live on December 1st is worse than if we had, because people are putting pieces in place. The system that is built around this gets pretty upside down if we don't move forward with what we've got. I think there are some workarounds. We are certainly spending a lot of time behind the scenes pressing both the department and the tailored plans, the LME MCOs to change, to make adjustments and changes. And to a certain degree, we're making some progress there. But timing wise, if they do put a pause on things, if they do postpone the go live date, it's only going to be for a month to maybe 3 months at the most, from what I'm hearing. That said, as much as everyone has made a big issue of December 1st as the day when they flip the switch, there is a lot of flexibility built in. For instance, if your doctors aren't onboarded and they're on December 1st, that doesn't mean that they can't be signed up on December 5th or December 15th or January 3rd or February 24th. And the same goes for care management agencies. If there is a care management agency out there that you want to work with, if they're not completely cleared through, but it looks like they're going that way, and that would certainly be a conversation you might want to have with them if they're actually looking at providing care management services in your area, then that process is ongoing. There are 3 rounds of onboarding processes. The ARC was in the first round of that we're done. We're on. We are authorized by the states, and I'm waiting on and have been waiting for several months for a final contract from one agency, but that should be resolved. Actually, we have a contract. It's just an updated contract that they're supposed to get us. Beyond that, if it's an agency that you're working with, track them, and if they change it and if it adds to this list, then you're welcome to be able to go ahead and sign on with them. And I think, again, choice is one of the key issues of this whole thing. The state has been very bold in saying that we want choice to be a central piece of this. And everything we're seeing is they're trying to make that happen, even though I think I'm nervous about what happens when we get closer to December, but not so nervous that I think the whole system's going to collapse. And that's, I think, what a worry is that I'm hearing from a number of people. The system won't collapse. It's just going to be awkward for a few weeks until things all shake out that needs to happen.
So a couple, I'm going to group a couple of these together. And I don't know that we can answer this because we're not the state, but we do need to acknowledge, why is nobody asking the parents or guardians what's needed to meet some of these physical health outcomes? And why are we at the deadline? And so many of, my family members, doctors or providers don't know anything about the tailored plan.
First off, the whole idea is care management is intended to be that communication with the individual and family. Nobody's asked them what they think yet, mostly because at this point, as much as it affects everybody with intellectual and developmental disabilities or substance use or severe and persistent mental illness or traumatic brain injury, it affects all of us. But the mechanisms to pay for it, unfortunately, that's been made at a higher level than any of us have access to. This is General Assembly decisions that go back. This system goes back about 5 years. And so that process is rolling forward. Our role as a care management agency and as care managers will be to do exactly what you said: connect the individual, help them and work with them to find out what is it that they need, what is it they're looking for, and to help connect them with the right services that will help them do that. There's a question further down in the chat that it connects to this as well. As the question was, is Community Navigator as a service going away? And the answer is yes. And the reason that is because care management is doing everything that Community Guide and Community Navigator has ever done, and then some. This is much closer to what case management used to be. And actually it's everything case management ever was, with more added to it. So it is even a heightened level of case management. But again, the whole core of this is to make sure that we're connecting the people and the individuals with the services they want and need, and to be the facilitator of that. So it's not us dictating to you, this is the doctor you got to go see. We may be coming back and saying, if you need to see an endocrinologist, these are the endocrinologists that are on the list that's available. If there's another one out there you'd like to see, let us know, and we might be sending out letters to some of those doctors saying, hey, would you be willing to sign up as a Medicaid service provider? So the intent is really to be very person-centered, and that I see very much in the designs that are going into this, is really to push this to what are the needs of the individual versus this is the service that you got to take and do it or else. It definitely is not that approach.
Can I just add?
Please. No, please go ahead.
Well, I was just going to add that part of care management is a requirement to complete a comprehensive assessment. So that will be the first process. So it would be real important for the families and the individual to be involved and in that assessment process and really answer those questions honestly. And then that information in the care management assessment will feed into the person-centered planning process and into the plan. So that's kind of that, when you get down in the weeds where, what John talked about, that's how they're going to get to that information in the beginning to know what's most important for you and your the individual related to the health needs and other needs.
Thanks for that. So Christina is asking, how would a family go about choosing their CMA? Is there a list somewhere? How do they know that they're making a good choice? Can you walk us through that?
The lists are, as we described, kind of late to be populated. We signed our contracts, just as an example, we signed our contracts with Tailored Plans at least 2 weeks ago. I don't think we're appearing on the list yet. This list are supposed to be updated daily. That's what we've been told. But again, they're late getting populated. If you get assigned to a care management agency and you're unhappy, you will have the opportunity to change. And we have heard, even today, that some care coordinators are telling people, we're just going to sign you up with tailored plan care management, and then you can change if you don't like that. Well, that just gives families extra work to do, in our opinion. If you know who you want to have as a care management agency, you can make that choice now and not have to go through that step. We are very hopeful that before October 14th, those lists will take shape and we'll have more choices in them for both care management agencies and doctors' offices who are contracted with tailored plans. We're hopeful. We don't know if that's going to happen. It's supposed to happen. And so one of the things that you could do to choose a care management agency is talk to the tailored plan and ask, who do you have on your list, even though it may not be populated on your website yet? Who do you know is going to be providing care management? You know that we're going to be providing care management because we have said that we will. We could give you the names of some other provider organizations that we know will be providing care management or are in the process of becoming approved to provide care management. I think the best thing to do is try to get that information from your tailored plan and find out who's going to be serving their specific region that you're living in or interested in.
And this is just a little bit off script, but I see Christina's, I think what she's asking also is, how do you know if a CMA is a quality, is going to do that service and do a good job? Do you suggest that they just call and ask the same questions as if they were picking another provider for another service and talk to them about it? Do you have some suggestions for how someone actually picks which one they think would suit their family's needs the most?
I think Christina, Melinda, that's a good idea for Christina's question. Certainly, it is very much like you'd be choosing another provider. We as families tend to go with who we know and trust. Trust is a big deal. Absolutely a big deal. You want to trust that provider in whatever service they're providing. You want to know that they're going to be top notch. They're going to do what they're supposed to do. They're going to be responsive and responsible. Then they're going to have trained staff to give you the absolute best that they can give. How do you find all that out with a new provider? I think it's as if you would be interviewing for a job. Call and ask them questions. Maybe make your list of questions, the things that you want to see, and ask the same questions of different providers and see what their answers are. You also need to think about this in making those decisions. If you currently have a care coordinator with the tailored plan and you're happy with that person, I suggest you hang on to them. You may not need to change right now. There's nothing that's forcing you to change right now. If you like the person you have as care coordinator, they are training to become care manager, which is kind of a higher level service than care coordination. You may want to stay with them. Changing to another care manager may be too much change right now for you and your family. On the other hand, if you have a lot of intense medical needs and there's an AMH near you, an advanced medical home, excuse me for using the letters, near you that's doing care management, you may want to go that route because you may need to focus on medical issues. If you know and like the ARC, and we're not providing your innovations waiver services, you may want to choose us. You may know the flavor of our organization would be very person-centered, all about empowering people with disabilities, lots of self-advocacy around that, lots of advocacy at the state level as well. Those are kind of the things that we're known for. Self-determination is a very important concept in what we do. And so you kind of get the flavor of each organization, what they may be focused on, and hopefully that helps you choose as well.
It's important to recognize that some agencies will do care management and nothing else. Others are just going to stick with Medicaid funded services, and some will do both. The only caveat is that if, for instance, the ARC, we will probably be doing both. But if it's a family that we are providing Medicaid funded services for, we will not do the care management. And we might be able to give you some ideas of who you might look to, or you may say, you know what, I want the ARC doing my care management. We would have to make sure that you get connected with the service provider to fill in for those services. You can't do both. That said, some of the problem is solved in that if it's an agency that you've dealt with and you already know who they are, you don't have to go back and say, okay, gee, you know, what's the ARC like? You already know who we are. And if you like us, great. If you don't like us, you know who the other agencies might be, because none of the companies that I've seen listed in the run up to this that we're applying, they're all companies and businesses that are around. I will say that there are only a handful that are statewide agencies, and in this case, the ARC is one of those, and we are only dealing with people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. That may include people with dual diagnosis, but our specialty and our focus is and has been on intellectual and developmental disabilities. So if somebody has had a substance use issue, they would not be assigned to us if that were the case. And so as you start looking at those lists, you'll recognize names in the list. And if you're comfortable with those names, great. And there are probably others that will be coming shortly. They may not make it in time for the middle of the month, middle of the deadline on October 14th, but there may be others out there, and I'm pretty sure that there will be a list available of who's in the process that you can look to and say, okay, you know what, I'll just wait until they show up. You'll get assigned somebody, and when that person, that entity is in there, you just go in and make your change request, and that's supposed to be facilitated quickly and easily.
Okay. So given that not everything has populated in the system, you know, we've covered that. Is there a date that the state has said that they'll make a final decision about whether they're going to postpone or whether they're absolutely going forward on December 1st?
There is no date that the state has said. In fact, all we're hearing from the state is that they are going forward on December 1st.
What I am hearing on conversations that I've been a part of is that this definitely has to be decided before we hit middle of November, and that the likelihood is if they're going to do this, it's going to happen. They will make the announcement sometime in the next couple of weeks. Understandably, it's a complicated issue because you got a lot of moving parts. You got a lot of organizations. You got 6 tailored plans. You got 74 care management agencies that are applying just in round 1 and round 2. I don't even know how many is in there for round 3. And you got all the families that are affected by this. If they say we're going to postpone it by 90 days, we'll push go live from December 1st to March 1st. That creates a whole lot of additional problems. And at this point, if they were really going to say, let's hold off and let's move this back, it should have been done probably 6 months to a year ago. And up until recently, I haven't heard much saying that we think that there is a reason to postpone. I have heard there are issues to solve, but even now I'm hearing that, yeah, if we're going to do it, we need to do it in the next 2 or 3 weeks. But everything we're hearing is we're going in the right direction. Keep it going. And that's, you know, that's about all we're hearing at this point. And hopefully I'm going to hear some more in the next couple of days from some conversations I'm supposed to have, but I'm not going to hold my breath. We are going to proceed as if December 1st is the startup date. If that date gets moved back, then we'll quickly adjust and probably have another webinar about what does it mean to push it back and talk about some of the impacts that might have. But again, I would assume for all intents and purposes, December 1st is the official start date.
Okay. Well, everyone who currently receives B3 services right now, are they automatically going to receive I Waiver services? If not, what does the process look like? And how can a family be assured that there's not going to be a lapse in services?
That is the question. So everything that I'm hearing is that it's supposed to be a smooth walkover. Everybody in B3 is supposed to get 1915 I Waiver services. But I would assume for the most part, that is exactly what's going to happen. But so far, to the best of our efforts, we have not been able to ascertain even how many people are going to be served by the 1915 I Waiver, because that would even tell us, we know how many are receiving B3 services. If there's a difference in the numbers being served, we would be able to say, okay, there's a gap here. My best guess is that there is going to be people fall through the cracks. Hopefully it's a very minimal few. We're working right now to say, okay, if this happens, if the worst case happens for a person, what is the remedy for that to make sure that we get that person back where they need to be? And so far, until we get a chance to read through the new I Waiver documents that just came out, I'm not sure what that looks like, and it may not even be in there. But the one thing that I can guarantee is that if there is somebody that falls through the cracks and we're aware of it and we're working with that person, we will do everything we can to get them back where they need to be. And I'm pretty sure, given some of the access that we have, that if we say, hey, there's a problem here with these 3 individuals, that it's going to get pretty quick attention. I think that's the last thing that the department wants, is for somebody to not be served. So if it does happen, it may be inadvertent, it may be an oversight, there may be lots of reasons, but those are the things that we need to be aware of so we can jump in the middle of helping solve that problem and getting that person back where they needed to be.
Gotcha. Okay. I picked this one for the last question as we're wrapping up here. And this is one of our staff members that asked it, but I think it's great. And she says, I've had a lot of confusion providing explanation about the difference between the tailored plan and a tailored plan. And that's the fact that we tell people you are on a tailored plan, and then we call the agency the tailored plan. Can you just explain the difference?
Yeah, think of a tailored plan as an insurance company run by the tailored plan being Alliance or Via or Partners, Trillium, Sandhills, East Point. Tailored plan is a federally defined concept of managed care. For people, I always say, is for people who need more tailored services. That's the connection that helps me remember that. So each of the LME MCOs will be running a tailored plan or an insurance plan. There will be an insurance plan called the tailored plan at Alliance. There will be one at each of the LME MCOs. So hopefully that's, does that help with that distinction?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Can I go back to one more thing, Melinda, that I should have
Sure.
mentioned earlier, and I touched on this, but I didn't explain it very well. There is a conflict-free rule around innovations waiver services. So if you have if your loved one's receiving innovations waiver services currently, and let's just use the ARC for example. If we're currently providing innovations waiver services for someone, we cannot be that person's provider of care management. Those have to be separated because of potential conflicts of interest. You cannot do both for the same person.
Right. Let me add to that, because I've heard this question multiple times from a variety of different sources about Community Navigator. And the hard answer is yes, Community Navigation, that service is going away. I said that earlier, but let me reiterate because it is confusing. Community Navigator is going away because all of what Community Navigator does is done by care management. So if you're on the Innovations Waiver and you're receiving Innovations Waiver Community Navigator, that function will now be done by the care manager rather than by the Community Navigator. And it's not only the same thing, it's actually, you'll get more than that from Community Net than you would have gotten from Community Navigator as a recipient of care management. If you're a B3 recipient, that service is also going away, but that's being replaced by the 1915 I option. And once again, if you are eligible for the waiver, you will have a care manager assigned to you who will help do exactly what community navigation does, which is connect you with the services and supports you need. So that's kind of the change. And so it's unfortunate, and I know a lot of people are stressed about it, but a lot of those folks that are doing community navigation are now moving into care management agencies to do exactly that, because it's the same exact skill set.
Great. Okay, so in the interest of time, let me just blow through this last slide with you guys as we're wrapping up. Thank you for all of your questions. If we didn't get to your question today, we're going to input it into our Q&A document that we're working on. So I'm sorry that if we didn't get to it live, but we will get to it on the back end. There are 2 webinars that we have coming up. Obviously, the first one has nothing to do with Medicaid transformation, but it's still important. There will be we'll send a registration link out to you when we send you the, we'll send a reminder. Our next Medicaid transformation webinar has been set for October 20th at 4:30. Check out our social media to register for that. The link that you see where it says submit your questions, that is a form stack link. Please copy and paste that. It's also on our website. Anytime you have a question, specific or general, and you want to submit that, please feel free to do that. That link stays active. And then we link to our webpage with Medicaid transformation information. It's as up to date as we can possibly get it. We have a little bit of work to do in the next week or so to get it, to get the latest info up there, but you can find that information there. Again, this will be on YouTube. Lisa has done a great job putting those links in the chat. But you can find, click on the YouTube link right from our website, and you'll go to the channel, and you can find our playlist on Medicaid transformation. So thank you guys all for attending today. Thank you to our presenters and our typers in the background helping manage these questions. And we will see you guys soon. Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you.